I have to share with you the most amazing week or so that I've had. It has been great. Let's see, a little over a week ago, I was able to take cuttings from this really incredible fig tree that I got permission to do it. And I tried to trim the tree back, any cross branches for the health of the tree. I wasn't just cutting to get cuttings. I was trying to prune the tree properly. So I ended up with a whole bunch of limbs. Now they should be thicker, like this one here, more like the size of your pinky, but I didn't waste anything. There's a little over 30, I think 31 or 32 in this flat that I'm trying to root, and you're supposed to cut them 8 to 10 inches flat on the bottom, angled at the top. Like this one was a tip, so I didn't do anything to it, and you can see that it's growing some buds on some of them. This one here, which I didn't cut the top of. So, and then more, and I didn't follow the directions. Some of these still have figs on them because this fig tree is already producing. I don't expect it to stay. Like this one's dropping the leaves, but it's growing new leaf buds. These two are just, they look the same as when I took them off the tree. So if this all works out, I will have over 50 trees. The person who owned the fig tree that I got the cuttings from just wants 2. I told her that, that she can have more, but she had bought 2. These are brown turkey figs. She had bought 2 trees, planted them in 2 different properties. The one at her house died. The one at her business property is just taken off because it's right next to a brick building, and they seem to like the insides. But a friend of mine then got actual rooted fig trees from her tree because it was taking over her yard. So she brought me 6, and I've planted them around this property. There's one right next to the house. It doesn't look too good. It's going through some shock. But yesterday was an absolutely fabulous day. But let me back up again. We were able to, I had one chestnut tree in a pot that's been in the pot for like 3 years. 3, maybe a little over 3 years. And I knew that I had another sapling growing at our old property. And when we went back to go get that one, I saw a whole bunch more. So we got that one, and then I also had one that my mom gave me. And it was just about the size of these. But yesterday we went back to the property, and I had to move them before they got trampled and damaged with some things that are going on over there. And I got 30 more chestnut trees. Oh, I dug out 4 last week, and 2 days ago I planted the 6 figs and the 4 chestnut trees, and I made cages for the chestnut trees because they're out in the woods. They're not part of the orchard that I'm making here. I'll show you the orchard. But I also had a bunch of volunteer, and these are probably tomatoes. Literally I got over a dozen volunteers, and I just couldn't just let them get destroyed. So I dug them up. So today I'm potting some more, and then I had 8 strawberry plants that are still surviving from my old strawberry patch that I need to repot and start my strawberry grove here. And over there I found witch hazel. Maybe I have it wild. I hadn't been able to identify the wild ones if I do, but I got 2 of them at a plant show, and found pomegranate trees. I bought 2 for myself and 1 for my daughter, and she and my son planted that at her new property, and she's going to take 4 of these chestnuts, but she's not ready to plant them yet. And let me show you the ones we started over a week ago. I'm doing everything wrong. This is the 3-year-old plant, and it had been in the pot for 3 years, and it had split at the very base, right where it came out of the dirt. It had split into 2 trees. And I went ahead and just tore it apart, thinking that the root system would go to one side or the other. Well, it literally, the main taproot split in half and still had a good bit of root system on both halves. So I thought, oh, what the heck? We've got all these other trees. If we lose this one, I wouldn't be wouldn't be thrilled about it, but it wasn't that big a loss. Anyway, it and its twin they didn't even wilt. They didn't go into shock. A week later, they're still producing new leaves. They like sandy soil. That's why they did so well at the other property. Over here, this is packed clay, and then we've got some sand in there and horse manure. And then trying to keep it wet. And not supposed to trench this, but the clay had already gotten hard on top, so I need to just remove this clay and get some sand in here, but to get the water down deep and get it really watered. But you see, it's already making this mud, slick mud. This is the other half of the twin plant, and it's also doing really well, producing new leaves. That wasn't there a week ago. It's out of my hose range, so I have to fill up a bucket, bring it over here, and I just literally give it about 4 gallons of water. And this, I already mentioned, they like sandy soil. They like it to be on the acidic side too. So this isn't the packed clay. This got scraped by the previous owner, and then my husband had to widen it up so that they can bring our home, our redneck mansion, through all that. The posts were taken down and the gate wasn't there, and they brought it down and pulled it in that way. So we've got this at the other place. I barely had them 20 feet apart. That's way too close, because once they mature, one of those trees are going to damage the other tree, or they're going to damage each other, because they need to have at least 30 feet of space in between. From my research, it looks like 35 to 40 feet is ideal. So we try to do that over here, kind of. There's a small one right on the other side of the mound. The one I just showed you previously is right there in front of the compost pile. And then the white bucket, that's another watering bucket, and another tree's up there. I'll show you that one shortly. The only tree so far that's shown any sign of shock. It dropped 3 leaves. That's it. It was growing. It was the only volunteer I knew about that I wanted to go back and get last week, and it was growing inside of a cinder block. I thought maybe I could dig it out with some garden tools and stuff, but the cinder block also was there to support and protect an outdoor faucet. So I couldn't move the cinder block, and I couldn't get into the plant, so my husband literally pulled it up. And we should have put it in water right away, but I was at that point, I've realized we literally had dozens of chestnut saplings growing all around. So I thought, well, we'll take a risk and give this one a try. So it's a little bit older than the ones in the containers I showed earlier. And I was excited. Any sort of volunteers, especially trees, fruit, nut trees, I am all over that. I love this. So it seems to have recovered from the worst of the shock that it's been in. And I'm hoping that these are signs of growth on the tips. But we'll see. If not, I've got replacements. But I hate to lose anything. I'm greedy that way. This is the 4th in our chestnut orchard. And we're calling it the auntie tree because it came from my mom. So it's a sibling to the parent trees of the other chestnuts. So this is an aunt, uncle. We'll call it an auntie just because it produces. Oh, in case you didn't know, you can't have just one chestnut tree unless a neighbor somewhere close by. They said the furthest distance was 100 feet for cross-pollination. It could probably be more than that, but you're not going to get fruit chestnuts unless you've got one, got 2 or more. So we've got these 4. It took about 5 years with the other trees before we were getting enough chestnuts to satisfy more than just one little sitting of roasted chestnuts. And I'll show you where I've got one of the wooded ones. From the side door where we mainly use as our entrance and exit from our house, if you see the white bucket, I didn't want to risk the deer eating my plants, so Aru, the chicken coop is just through those trees, but I didn't want to chance the deer getting a taste for these, and they will literally, at this size, they'll eat it all the way down to the ground, nothing left, nothing to grow back. So I made, this was the first cage I made, and the rest are triangular. I think the triangles held their forms better, and I was able to use less of the fencing, which were on sale, thank goodness. And the buckets is where I originally had them in for about just a few days, more than 7. Horse manure, and it just had them in there until I was able to plant them, not bury them, transplant them. And I didn't use the whole bucket of manure in the holes. This is sandier. This is definitely acidic soil with all the pine straw. And what I do is I literally put about 4 gallons of water, and from the drainage holes, it just slowly pours out into, it's not really that big a hole. I did all this by myself, and I didn't plant them that, this ground is much softer. I couldn't have done that in the clay. All the clay ones were dug with the backhoe. My husband did the backhoe with that, except for the one that's close to the trees, to the woods. And I also planted a fig not too far, about 8 to 10 feet from each of the chestnuts, and then one by itself near the chicken coop. And these already had roots with them. They were from my friend who gave me 6 of them. And she said she's got more, so I was like, fine, that saves me time from having to get the ones I'm trying to rooted. And of course I'm going to give some of these to my daughter too. Get her producing some fruit over there, and nuts. And here we have triangular one. So everything's kind of a work in progress. I try to improve, make it easier. I still need to bend these. So I didn't have to have any added wire. And I've got this one just kind of formed in, but the other ones I went ahead and clipped and wrapped the wire so they're not going to come up. And I've got them staked with, it's really the stuff you use for chain link fences, cyclone fences, to wire them onto the poles. And I just put them in the ground so they don't easily get moved or bumped over. And the same watering system. I'm going to leave the watering system maybe a week or 2. We'll see how this goes. But I'm in sore need of more buckets because of all those plants you saw. And then this fig isn't wilted at all because it's mostly in shade over here. The other ones get some sun, so they get stressed more. Yeah, Rue. So I'll make a chicken video shortly. But I've got 2 more chestnuts and fig trees planted on the east side of our property because the property next to us got clear cut, so it's getting a lot of sun in the mornings. And so I was able to plant right next to the little pathway that we can drive. And I did the same setup as here with the triangular cages. Initially I bought some of the wire mesh trash cans from Dollar Tree, but these saplings are already right almost to the top. When I turned the trash cans upside down, I thought, oh, these will make a great little protection from the deer, but I'm going to have to change them out not too long as the trees got bigger, and the base of the trash can is smaller than the top, and you have it upside down. It's confining the plants too much. And I looked at maybe making a 4 foot tall cage, and that's kind of maybe too much. But we'll see. If I need to add on, I can, and then we'll reuse this. I plan on making a literal food forest out here. When these start dropping, maybe the 2 that I just showed you in the video are too close to the house and too close to daily activities, me coming up here and doing stuff, that the deer won't benefit from this. But the plants on the eastern side, I don't mind that being food for deer, squirrels, rabbits, whatever, as long as they don't damage the trees. I don't mind them taking the nuts and the fig fruits to grow the wildlife and encourage the wildlife here. So I also got talking to the lady that I got the fig starts, the cuttings from. She told me a place, one of her properties, where I can go and see if there's any volunteer pecan trees, because I was talking about my husband wanted pecans and my son wants filberts or hazelnuts, whatever region of the country you're in. They go by different names, same nuts. And I love chestnuts. That's if I had to limit myself to only one type of nut for the rest of my life, these are it. So I definitely have my quota and then some. And now I want to make sure that my husband and son are blessed. And my son is living here still with us, and he's been making plans to build his own property. So I definitely want to have trees for him that he likes, and he loves chestnuts too. Pecans also. Walnuts are on my list. We have lots of hickory nuts here, but there's so much work for that little bit of meat in the shells. Anyway, getting off topic. But this is blessed with these trees, and sadly some trees have to come down. I hate having to cut down trees. We have so many that's already rotted, so many that we had to cut last year to move in our home, like over here. And I think I want my chicken coop over here, the big one for the big run, and that will be my silky. Anyway, I'll go into more detail on my chicken video. Anyway, I'm so excited about the trees. I have never, I'm just thrilled, and it makes me happy. Thanks for watching.